Okay, Thomas and Drew here from ZingChart, and we're going to take a look at the NexusOne phone running the Froyo operating system of Android with the Flash player installed, and take a look at Flash and HTML5 canvas graphing with ZingChart. So first, let's go live to ZingChart. And the site loads up as you'd expect. Nothing too interesting on the home page that's Flash based or anything. It's mostly a bunch of jQuery and so on. But if we pull up one of these charts, you will see indeed Flash is live and available, and there is a radar chart in Flash. More of the problems that we've encountered so far with playing with the NexusOne phone has a little bit more to do not with Flash and the interactivity, but sizing issues in terms of being able to touch various objects on websites that are really not developed for fingers. Here's a piano running in Flash. And we haven't seen any major problems in terms of performance or crashing so far. You can see it renders once the Flash player is loaded, it renders quite quickly. So after, let me take a look at one of the more complicated ones here in a second. So as you can see, it's more of a problem of big fat fingers than anything else. Here maybe we take a look at the coffee cup example. You can see something a little bit more complex with animation. And the tooltips and things do work, but the kind of common criticism against Flash is really not terribly realistic. It seems to be just a general criticism we're seeing with touch-based interfaces. We can get zooming and a variety of other things working, but it's somewhat awkward just because of the nature of your finger versus a mouse. Now, looking at the HTML5 demo site for the side-by-side, what you'll see is that indeed the HTML5 version renders more quickly initially because you don't have to have the plugin load up time. And so you'll see here all the charts running side by side just fine. But what our upcoming performance data is going to show, at least in the PC environment and iPad environment and so on, is that generally for the comparisons between the two forms of rendering, what you run into is an issue where in the small case the Flash player typically has too much overhead, so it starts slower, but in the large case the Flash player will beat HTML5 in terms of its ability to handle large amounts of data points. Compatibility page. Let's go ahead and run some speed tests and see what it looks like. Let's do the first 100-point one. So let's see, what does that look like there? Oh, wow. 3 seconds versus 9 seconds. Now that's kind of interesting. So that's suggesting that the HTML5 version was slower. And this one is very similar. So 3.9 versus 3.2 for 1,000 points. Let's try 3 series 1,000 points. It should be relatively slow. Five seconds for the Flash, almost 6 seconds for the Flash. And over 6 seconds for the HTML5. So sadly, for people who've already predetermined the results, results, as you can see, are mixed. It's not a clear win for either of the technologies so far. As we've shown already, we're not seeing these kind of claims of performance degradation or any sort of crashing coming from the Flash player. But then again, this particular action script is not fat and poorly designed. It's made for performance. So let's take a look here at the rendering of the excessive bar chart example. So we see 9 seconds on the Flash. And this is taking a bit of time. So I would say that it looks like HTML5 here is losing. Yes, there's the 20 seconds. This is exactly what we see with the data collected online with mostly PC users and Mac users who've done things as you hit large scale. HTML5 canvas really just not cut it, particularly if it's interactive. So finally, let's just wrap up and show you again a few more side-by-side features. And here just as an example of say guides in Flash. So you can see some of the awkwardness of the touch interface. So you can see there's a guideline you have to click, so there's no sense of hovering obviously because you're using your finger. But it does have a sense of being able to drag your finger across. It's very similar to mouse. How about a zoom scroll? Here you should be able to click and drag. So there's a guide showing up, and now I should be able to create a region. Now obviously it might be better to have a pinch style, but there's a region created and we should be able to zoom in. And finally, just to show off that you can do more than trivial graphs here, here's a fully designed bar chart. Complete with backgrounds and textures and so on.